idea, you believe, what you have to do is go back home. You have to take this dream right back home, just like Martin Luther King said, okay? You take it back to your schools, and you take it back to your streets where you are. That money in politics cannot continue in the fashion that it is. We have to get these bills passed. And in that way, we have to get you guys in the offices of these guys. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah. You gotta call them up. You gotta find out who represents you. And you need to go talk to them because they're not gonna hear us standing out here. They might see us on the news being portrayed as people who might be a little bit crazy. But really, this is not crazy. This is what we really need. It's a change. We need democracy. We need students like you to be standing up. So make an appointment, find out who represents you, and take this legislative agenda with you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Terrence Strait, and I live just outside of D.C. in Maryland. I have $63,000 in student loans, something that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And I agree wholeheartedly that you all should be in those offices. But more than just making appointments, I'm actually running for Congress this year. And I'm here because I believe that there are many parts of the conversation that we need to be a part of. We need our politicians out here with us, and we need us in there with them. So I encourage when all of you go home, make appointments to see your representatives, but then run against them.
Is it on? Okay, cool. Hi, I'm here because, well, I'm here for a lot of reasons, but I was a sophomore in high school when the Sandy Hook shooting happened, and I remember sitting at my computer in the computer lab in my high school and just glancing at it and not thinking that much about it because it had become such a normal thing that I heard about every day. And after I went home that day, and the kids I babysit and my younger siblings, they were upset, and I was upset, and I thought, nobody should have to think I'm going to go to school and possibly get shot today, whether you're 5 or 15. And I thought something would change. I thought that Congress and the Senate would pay attention and do something to help curb these horrific school shootings, but it's been, what, 6, 7 years now? And nothing's changed. And it's undeniable that a part of the reason that nothing has changed is because the NRA gives so much money to people who are running for Congress. And I want to get their influence out of Congress so we can have sensible gun reform and climate change reform, and so that everybody's voice can be heard.
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
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 What's up, y'all? My name's Kieran. I'm from Democracy Matters in Greensboro, North Carolina. How are y'all today? I'm out here today. I don't know about y'all, but in North Carolina, we got a governor, we got a state legislature that has taken our country, in my 4 years of living in the state, as far right as they could possibly imagine. They've done everything they can think of to assault students, to assault working people, to assault people of color, to assault our LGBTQ and trans brothers and sisters and friends. And you know why they're doing that? Because there's money coming straight into their pockets from our Pope, from Duke Energy, that runs the energy monopoly in my state.
Money ain't speech!
Money ain't speech, right? That's why we're out here today. We're demanding a government that works for all of us. And you know, a couple years ago, I was down in the mountains of Mexico. Anybody know anything about the Zapatistas? Yeah, how many of you know the Zapatistas? The Zapatistas have a saying, que el pueblo mande y el gobierno obedezca. That the people demand and the government listens. And that's why we're out here today. So that the people demand. Let the people demand. Let the people demand. All right, y'all. All right. Are you you guys doing tonight? My name's David O'Neill, and I'm here because I believe that more people need to realize that we're being lied to by our government. We were taught that we live in a representative democracy, that we elect people who are going to make the right choices to look out for our ideals. But that system is broken. What is happening right now is corruption to the furthest extent. Our government stands for everything but the people. And we need to do our right and stand up and demonstrate that that is not all right.
Hi, my name's Bijou, and I went to school in central Wisconsin. I think I'm very lucky to say that I'm only $30,000 in debt. I'm going to read a little poem that I wrote for you. It's called $30,000. $30,000 in debt for a degree. Will that $30,000 find a job for me? With 30,000 eyes, take a look and see that 30,000 students cannot in debt be free. 30,000 trees shading end of hard day's work, 30,000 springs bringing life to the earth, 30,000 sunrises and 30,000 moons, 30,000 honeybees thriving from 30,000 blooms. $30,000 could provide 30,000 beds, $30,000 could put shelters over heads, $30,000 could settle past due bills, $30,000 could provide for 30,000 meals. Give me 30,000 dreams, and I will show to you what 30,000 free lives are empowered to do.
Hey, I'm Carl. I'm from Vermont, and I want to talk about. I got invited to speak in class at Green Mountain College. And they asked me what I'm doing and why I'm here, so I'm going to make it quick. And I question that, but it comes down to I want the world to be better for myself and everyone else, because if it's not... Spring! If the world ain't good for everyone else, it's not good for us. So do good for your brothers and sisters and friends. And love each other. If you want a hug, please come get one.
Hi. So my name is Anna Hankins. I am a student from UMass Amherst. And one reason that I'm here is that I believe that the system is actually working exactly how it was designed to function and support the people that it was designed to support. And I want something that looks completely different. And I'm here to march and to sit in for one democracy and for one vote, one person. And I'm also here for the beginnings of a world that looks very, very, very different than the one that we see now. And I see this as practice for the day that we're sitting in to abolish the police and to abolish prisons and to have free higher education and to have institutions that are not violent and to stop the colonial expansion projects of our world and of the United States. So I'm excited to be here. Let's go.
Hi, hello. My name's Tony DeSantis. I used to work for the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs in New Jersey. And I spent 25 years taking care of veterans. And I was told, ever since I was a kid, that our veterans fought and died in wars to defend our rights. The right to vote, the right to free speech, and the right to organize. The rights that, people fought long and hard to attain. And when I see governors like Scott Walker and Pat McCrory work overtime to take those rights away, I see them insulting and denigrating the work and the sacrifice of people I took care of for 25 years. I consider this voter identification fraud that has been perpetrated by the Republican Party and their big donors who have supported this, who have paid for this, who have encouraged this.
Right. Yeah.
I see them engaging not merely in corruption, I see them engaging in treason.
Right.
So I take it very seriously, the voting rights. Very seriously. And that, my friends, is why I am here. Thank you.
One person, one vote. 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 Who are we? Democracy free. What do we want? Democracy. What are we gonna do if we don't get it? Shut it down! Yeah!
Democracy!
Free!
Democracy!
Free!
Democracy!
Free!
What do we want?
Democracy!
When do we want it?
Now!
Mic check. Let's welcome our DC Vote friends that are coming down Pennsylvania Avenue right now. Just like all of the issues we care about, DC voting ties to money in politics. We welcome them.
We're going to be getting started in just a second, and this is where the speakers are going to be. So if we want to rally here and make sure and fill in so that folks can all be in formation here, that would be great. And we're going to get started in just a second. Hey.
Hey, Dad.
¿Quién? Esclavo. Y es irónico que sería hoy donde está llevando Defiendo la capital del mercado, podemos asegurarnos de que la capital se lleve a la capital Bueno, y nosotros entendemos que porque la ciudad predominantemente es una ciudad no blanca, los republicanos
Born to be free in Washington, D.C. Born to be free. Born to be free. Born to be free in Washington, D.C. Let me hear you. Born to be free. Let the Congress. Born to be free. Let the Congress. Born to be free in Washington, D.C. That's what we're marching for. Born to be free. Born to be free. Born to be free in Washington. And we want to tell the Congress of the United States, and they're representing the American people, that you have a moral responsibility as fellow citizens to help us in this struggle. We need you. So we're singing to you, America, tear down this wall, tear down this wall. Tear down this wall in Washington, D.C. I don't hear you. Tear down this wall. Come on now. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall in Washington, D.C. America. Tear down this wall. America, can you hear? Tear down this wall. America, can you hear? Tear down this wall in Washington, D.C. We are political prisoners. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. In Washington, D.C. America, you promised liberty. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. In Washington, D.C. I have a question for everybody. What? Do you think they can hear us? Yeah. No. I think we need to sing it louder. Yeah. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. In Washington, D.C. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. Tear down this wall. In Washington, D.C. When I say D.C., you say statehood. D.C. Statehood. D.C. Statehood. When I say D.C., you say statehood. D.C. Statehood. D.C. Statehood. When I say D.C., you say statehood. Statehood. When I say D.C., you say statehood. D.C. D.C.
Statehood. How's everyone doing? I couldn't quite hear that. How's everyone doing? All right, that's more like it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. How's everyone doing? Yeah, there we go. All right, everyone. My name is Sean Estelle. I'm a divestment campaigner with Energy Action Coalition, and I work for the Democracy Spring campaign, and we've been out here all week and I just wanted to talk a little bit very quickly about why we're so excited to be here with DC Vote. So first of all, the biggest thing is that we know, and we wanted to prioritize as a campaign, that we know that local organizing is one of the top priorities for us, and we wanted to make sure to leave local organizing better than we found it, because we know that DC statehood is an issue that is crucial for folks, and that's why we're here, and we are so excited to join and support. The second reason is because today is Student and Youth Day. Can we give it up for the students and youth in the crowd? All right. So, as part of Democracy Spring, we know that a wide range of folks feel the destructive influence of money in politics and of voter suppression. And we also know that students and young people need to be organizing with the communities that they are a part of in order to achieve the wins that we need. And so we are here standing in solidarity with DC Vote, and we're in this fight together. And the last reason is because, as you can see, we are fighting for one person, one vote. We are fighting to get money out of politics, and we are here to make sure that we can achieve the electoral reforms we need so that every voice can be heard. So with that, I want to call Kim up to the stage.
Thanks, Sean. Hey, everybody. One more time, because it never gets old. When I say DC, you say vote. DC. Vote. DC. Vote. When I say DC, you say vote. DC. Vote. DC. Vote. Listen, thank you guys so much. We're so glad to be here. Most people don't know that when they descended on DC, they entered the land of the disenfranchised. For 200 years, our people here have been without equal rights, the same basic democratic rights that you all enjoy in your home states. And we got to change this. This is turning around. It's too much. We made some progress. We got the 23rd Amendment with the right to vote for president and vice president and get 3 electoral votes. 20 years later, we were able to get a delegate to the House, not the whole 9 yards, but just a delegate. A few years later, we were able to get a local mayor and a 13-person council. But guess what? It's still not enough. We got DC Home Rule to say, okay, some leadership is possible, but it's still not enough. We do not have a representative, a voting representative in the House. We don't have 2 senators. We have absolutely no voice. In our national legislature, our voices have been silenced. Right. We need to turn it around. You can help us. We're reaching out across the country to build support for this cause. If you go around the country talking about we need to restore voting rights, include us in that. We're nearly 1 million tax-paying citizens with no voice in our national legislature. We can turn that around. We need to be included in that debate and that conversation, so don't forget us. When you talk to your legislators and your congressional lawmakers about expanding voter participation, include us. Nearly 1 million more voices can be added to our democracy just by enfranchising DC. We have a bill going through the U.S. Congress right now. It's called the New Columbia Admission Act. It frees D.C. It gives us full representation in the House and the Senate. It gives us back control of our budget and every single one of our laws. We live under an unjust system right now. It looks like colonialism, and it's time for it to come to an end. You can help us by telling your lawmakers to vote for the New Columbia Admission Act and end this discrimination that exists in our nation's capital. It's too much. We're tired of it, and it's time for us to put it to an end. Will you help us? We need you. We're counting on you. Are you with us? All right. So let me tell you what this looks like. Living under the arm of colonialism, the Congress has ultimate authority of our budget, our local tax dollars, and every single law we pass in this city has to go to Congress for ultimate approval. Can you believe that? Did you know that? So last year, I'm going to bring our next speaker to the stage. Last year, we put forth a ballot initiative for local voters to determine if they wanted to reform our drug laws and legalize marijuana. More than 67% of voters in this city voted for it, thumbs up, wanted it to happen, but guess what? It was blocked by Congress. They overturned a voter ballot initiative. If that happened in Ohio or California or Washington or Colorado, there would be hell to pay. But guess what? We have no one to hold accountable. So there's been no hell to pay. Limited democracy sucks. Dr. Malik Burnett, who's been educated, he's a resident physician at Johns Hopkins right now. He's been a strong champion in the movement to reform drug laws, is going to come to the stage and tell you what undermining democracy in a city full of strong voters looks like. And I'm hoping you will help us give hell to pay for this decision of overturning our local ballot initiative. Dr. Malik.
How's everybody doing? You guys pumped up? All right, I'm going to share a little bit of a speech that I wrote. It's called Emancipated But Not Free. Bear with me. As we gather here today in front of the Capitol building to commemorate, in protest, Emancipation Day, it is important that we take a moment to reflect on the notion that the citizens of the District of Columbia, while emancipated, are not free. Emancipate, by definition, is to be free from restraint, control, or the power of another. And in its most common modern-day parlance is used in the context of slavery. Freedom, on the other hand, by definition, is the power to or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. It is the absence of subjugation to foreign domination or domestic government. Looking at these two definitions, hopefully it's starting to become clear why the District of Columbia is emancipated but not free. To further this idea, I'd like to offer an analogy for you to consider, especially in the context of drug policy. The citizens of the District of Columbia have rights which are like a convicted felon out on parole, and the United States Congress is the district's parole officer. Yes. On parole, an individual is able to participate in society so long as they do two things. One, check in with their parole officer, and two, don't violate the terms of this parole. This defines the legal situation for the District of Columbia, which passes laws that have to be checked by the United States Congress and is subject to congressional appropriations riders, which define the terms under which the district can govern itself. In both the case of the convicted felon and the district's elected officials, freedom hangs in the balance should these terms be violated. Another more pernicious example of how the district has rights like a convicted felon out on parole is the fact that both the district and the felon have been summarily disenfranchised. The right to vote is the bedrock upon which our nation was built, and ironically, it's in our nation's capital where those rights are most under threat. From our lack of voting representation in Congress to the Congress's consistent efforts to overturn our local ballot initiatives, the district's residents constantly find ourselves asking whether or not our vote really matters. The fact that you all are standing here today, right now, means the answer to that question is a resounding yes. It means that the fight for legislative autonomy, for voting representation, and for freedom is alive and well in the District of Columbia. We are the modern-day abolitionists fighting for a better tomorrow. And much like the efforts that led to the passage of the D.C. Compensated Emancipation Act in 1861, it will take a concerted effort from citizens around the country to truly free D.C. As a wise man once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And through our continued efforts, we will ultimately get to the day where in the District of Columbia, we not only celebrate being emancipated, but we are also able to celebrate being free. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Dr. Malik Burnett. So really quick, I want to have folks sing along with me. We have a song with Democracy Spring that sort of gets the crowd going, gets the energy hype. So it's a call and response, and if you know it, y'all should feel free to sing along. So here we go. Money ain't speech, corporations aren't people. Money ain't speech. Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, sit in, sit in. Sit in, sit in. We the people, one person, one vote. Free and equal from coast to coast. Free and equal from coast to coast. Great. All right. And so now let's welcome a speaker that has been here with Democracy Spring. He spoke at the rally in Philly and has marched with folks before. Dr. Lawrence Lessig. He's an American academic, an attorney, and a political activist. In May 2014, he launched a crowd-funded political action committee called May Day that was founded with the purpose of electing candidates to Congress that could pass campaign finance reform. And in 2015, Dr. Lessig also ran a presidential candidacy campaign as a referendum on campaign finance reform and electoral reform legislation. So let's give it up for Professor Lawrence Lessig.
It is so amazing to be here, to see you here. You know, I was incredibly honored to start with Democracy Spring in Philadelphia and walk with them 4 of their 10 days on the way down here. And when Kai said to me, which day did I want to get arrested? I said I wanted to be arrested on Youth Day. Now, the thing that's troubled me about this movement so far is that though we've got lots of independent media here, I haven't seen CNN, I haven't seen MSNBC, I haven't seen these stations covering what the incredible action you're doing is. And I've asked my friends, why is that? And a friend yesterday said, there are not enough suits down there. Not enough suits down there. So I can tell you I'm wearing a suit, something I never do. I'm wearing a suit because I want them to cover us, because here it is, one suit. Now I wanted to speak on Youth Day because here's what we know about youth. More than 3/4 of youth support a candidate who believes in single-payer health care. They look at the problem and they say, why not? And 3/4 of youth support a candidate who looks at climate change and says, carbon tax now. They look at it and they say, why not? And 3/4 of youth support a candidate who says, we should be breaking the big banks up now. Why not? And people my age, when they hear that question, why not? People my age say, hey, grow up. Oh, no. Grow up. Grow up. It can't work like that. It can't work like that. But what we know is it can't work like that because that institution is corrupt. When Madison gave us the Constitution, Madison said that institution would be dependent on the people alone and by the people. He said, I mean, quote, not the rich more than the poor. Not the rich more than the poor. But that institution bends over backwards to figure out what the rich want because the rich fund their campaigns. That's got to stop. And I say it's got to stop, and I say, why not? Why can't it stop? This movement's incredible because people here are demanding the change that tomorrow Congress could pass to end it. On the 6th anniversary of Citizens United, Elizabeth Warren stood up in the Senate and she said, look, Citizens United is a disaster. We need to overturn it. But there are 6 things we could do tomorrow to solve this problem. Most important of them, changing the way campaigns are funded. And she said, we need to do that now. And I say, why not? So I'm with you. I'm a suit. And I'm with you. And I'm going to march around this campus of this Capitol, and I'm going to get arrested with you, and I'm going to stand before that judge and say, why not? Why not? Why not? Say it with me. Why not? Why not equality for all? Why not equality for DC? Why not, goddammit? Why not? Thank you very much.
Woo! Let's give it up for Lawrence Lesson. All right, so we're going to keep moving right through the speakers. So next up, I want to welcome Samira Khan. So Samira, using her recent pageant victory as Miss New Jersey, United States 2015, she's seeking to raise awareness on the plight of refugees and pursue gender equality here in the U.S. and also maintain a positive image of Islam to potentially end Islamophobia in the United States. So let's welcome Samira to the stage.
I love this crowd. You guys are amazing. It's great to see such passionate individuals so involved in politics. So my name is Samira Khan, Miss New Jersey, United States. And you're probably wondering, what's a pageant title holder or a beauty queen doing up here? Well, I majored in political science. That's what happened. You know, I'm speaking against our current state of a plutocracy. And we're told to stay neutral. Well, I decided against that. As citizens of the United States of America, we hold a moral responsibility to participate in the political process, right? So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to speak here. The foundational idea of a modern democracy is based on the premise that government derives its... Hold on, I'm shaking because I'm wearing 6-inch heels, so take them off. The foundational idea of a modern democracy is based on the premise that governance derives its authority from the consent of the governed. Is that happening today? No. We're a plutocracy, not a democracy. We are not a pluralistic society. We are a society of elitism. Is that what the founding fathers wanted for us? No! Our country is governed by the power elite, corporations, lobbyist groups, super PACs. Our system of governments is rigged so that our opinions are invalid. Our politicians do not legislate in accordance with our needs. Corruption in campaign finance, money in politics, both inhibit fair legislation. We can't allow that to happen anymore. Mass mobilization facilitates change. This is why we're here. In solidarity to protest the actions of our political leaders. We live in a society where the people fear the government when the government should fear its people. Let's remind them that the government answers to us, not to corporations, not to super PACs, and not to lobbyist groups. We need to overturn Citizens United. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Take care. I'll put my shoes back on now.
Great, let's give it up for Samira. Tell me what democracy sounds like.
This is what democracy sounds like.
Tell me what democracy sounds like.
This is what democracy sounds like.
Woo! All right. So next up, we're going to be welcoming Robert Schaaf. So he's going to be reading a statement on behalf of his father, Rob Schaaf, who's a state senator from Missouri. So Rob Schaaf, one second, I'm just pulling up his bio here. Rob Schaaf is a state senator from Missouri that has tirelessly been campaigning and advocating for smaller government and introduced a bill in the Missouri legislature for campaign finance reform. So we're going to hear a statement from Robert on behalf of his dad.
Thank you. My voice is weak today, so I'll do my best to read this. We Americans pay a lot of taxes. What's that?
Pick up the mic.
We Americans pay a lot of taxes. Income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and many more. These taxes are taken from virtually every American, whether deducted from our paychecks, passed on in our rent, or added to our bills at the grocery store. Yet most of us have little say in how those taxes are used. Instead, narrow special interests control the political process, often cutting their own taxes and taking ours in the form of wasteful subsidies that stifle competition. And when they can't do that, they block common sense reforms that we need, reforms that would simplify the tax code, or stabilize the financial system, or drive down the cost of health care. It's time that we Americans took back our republic, and we can do this without abridging anyone's freedom of speech. Imagine if every American every year had the option to allocate their first, say, $200 in taxes to candidates or local party committees of their choosing. If that were the case, then every one of us would have a meaningful say in how the rest of our taxes were used. No longer would members of Congress need to spend their time holding fancy fundraisers or calling up the rich and powerful to ask for money. Instead, to keep their seats, they would need to mount broad-based grassroots campaigns. We citizens would find ourselves invited to attend fundraisers in our own middle and working class neighborhoods. We would find more candidates and local volunteers knocking at our doors. And more of us would find ourselves getting involved in grassroots organizing, because more of us would be interested in the process, finally having a vote in the money election that is now so exclusive. In short, citizen funding of elections would break the cycle of dependence that chains politicians to corporate masters, and it would give new life to grassroots democracy. Moreover, it's something that both citizens on the left and citizens on the right could support. Let's stand up and take back our republic. We need our lawmakers to represent us.
All right, thank you so much. We'll keep it going. Thanks. So our next speaker is a really important gentleman. I think he's special to a lot of us. Pastor Mike Wilker leads the Lutheran Church of the Reformation right here on Capitol Hill. I know that some of you all know him. Not only is he a passionate DC resident, but I have to tell you my favorite of his is on his Twitter descriptor. He added in there husband, dad, which is great, but it also says U.S. citizen without representation in Congress. He understands the power of organizing, as his church is the host for the Democracy Spring direct action trainings that are going on this week. And the church is also the hub of so many progressive activities throughout the year. So welcome, Dr. Pastor, I just gave you a new title, Pastor Mike Wilker.
Thank you. And I brought my dog Jax with me today too. We live here in Washington, D.C., so I could just walk on over from my home and join you all. And first of all, thanks to the Democracy Spring folks who've been at our church every morning. We're really glad that you're doing what you're doing and speaking for all of us. Our congregation, Lutheran Church of the Reformation, believes that God is calling us away from hate and violence to peace and justice, turning us away from division to harmony, to peace. And we also believe that God is calling us forward into companionship with more and more people around this country and around this world. But every Sunday, we start our worship services with a confession of sin, recognizing how we are broken and how we have missed the mark in so many ways. So I'm going to start off by saying that and confessing that I covet your vote. I moved here from Minnesota many years ago, and in order to do this kind of ministry, but I had to give up my vote in Congress and my 2 senators in Congress in order to do this ministry here, which I find to be so important and life-giving to me. But when you all who are not residents of Washington, D.C. come and do your good work, I'm always a little jealous of you, and I have to, kind of put that aside for a little bit and encourage you all out to go and speak to your senators and representatives and wish and hope that I had the same kind of representation that you did. But it's not just me. There are hundreds of thousands of people of faith in this city who don't have a vote in Congress. And let me tell you what that means for my congregation. Since 1987, we have been advocating for the full inclusion of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered people in the church and in society. And we could not bless the marriages of members of our congregation because, first of all, we had to change hearts and minds here locally in D.C., but then we were always threatened by what Congress was going to do. Were they going to push us back down and not respect our religious rights to bless the people who are in love with one another, whom we have prayerfully and considered to bless them and their relationships? So this is also about religious rights here in Washington, D.C. When we don't have the opportunity and the power and the vote, ultimately, to hold our representatives accountable, your representatives and senators accountable, it creates less justice and more hate and division here in Washington, D.C. So I'm glad for your support for our voting rights here in D.C. because, like I said, God is calling us forward into companionship and relationships. Our congregation also advocates for immigrants and refugees, and we have had many of the Dreamers come to Reformation year after year after year. Another group of people who are not recognized as citizens and so don't have a vote. And they have inspired me because they have not stopped organizing and fighting for their rights. And they are starting to change the hearts and minds of all Americans. And I want to do that same thing too. So I'm going to follow the Dreamers. I'm going to follow the civil rights activists before them and in Virginia and elsewhere who are demanding the right to vote there. And I'm glad for your support here too. Thank you, and God bless you all.
All right, everyone, let's give it up for Pastor Mike. All right, so next up, we are going to have Brianna Ross, who's the Vice President of the United States Student Association. Yeah, let's give it up for USSA, one of the steering committee members for Democracy Spring, and one of the country's oldest and largest national student-led association, representing over 1.5 million students, dedicated to building student power and dismantling systems of oppression in higher education through a framework of education justice. And Brianna's the Vice President. She's going to come up and say a few words.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? All right. Once again, my name is Brianna Ross. I'm here representing the U.S. Student Association, here representing over 1.5 million students. Before we get started, I want to take a little bit of a poll. How many of you believe that we should stop investing in corporations and industries that profit off the incarceration of black and brown bodies? Okay. How many of you believe that we need to uncoke our campuses and put an end to the privatization in higher education? Okay. All right, here's the last one. Who believes that we need to end the corruption of big money in our politics and ensure free and fair elections in which every person has a voice? Okay, good, I'm talking to the right people. If you all believe in these things, then you all believe in education justice. Education justice is the fight to dismantle systems of oppression in higher education and inherently fighting against racism, classism, and xenophobia and any of the other systems of oppression that prevent people from accessing higher education. When we talk about education justice, we need to realize if we're going to create a true democracy, this is contingent on creating a society where voter protections are enforced in all 50 states and making D.C. here the 51st. And we need to make sure that we have a government that is representative of our nation. Let me tell you what education justice isn't. Education justice isn't how our institutions of higher learning have transformed from being systems that educate people to businesses intent on providing a high revenue product without the respect or serving the public good. The same money that's being poured into our political system and corrupting it is the same exact money being poured into corrupting our higher education system. That ain't right. Our institutions of higher learning function as corporations, many of which institutions have been taken over by corporate interests such as the Koch brothers. That ain't right. These corporate actors have normalized the mistreatment of workers, they've made morally corrupt investments, and oppressed the voice of our people.
That ain't right!
When we talk about democracy, we need to realize the political climate that we're in. From the impact of the Citizens United decision, to the uprising of the Black Lives Matter movement, to responding to ICE raids and state-sanctioned violence. These endless attacks on our people, our communities, are underrepresented and show that institutional racism is alive and well. That ain't right. Millennials make up 33% of the electorate. We are the largest, most diverse generation in the history of this country. And we have the power to dramatically alter these systems that perpetuate inequity. We must overturn decisions such as Citizens United that allow the 1% to dominate and be the decision makers. Now that ain't right. We need a government that is representative of the people. And here are our demands. We demand the passage of the Voting Rights Act. We demand the passage of the Voter Empowerment Act. We demand the Democracy for All Amendment. We demand the government by the people and Fair Election Now Acts. And last but definitely not least, we demand a Supreme Court nominee that will not strive solely for equality, but a government that is truly democratic and representative of the needs of all underrepresented communities. I am so excited to be here with y'all, and the Democracy Spring is really a reflection of the process of revolutionary change. Hundreds of arrests, thousands of miles traveled, over 140 miles marched, and thousands of people sitting in to demand change. Now that is powerful.
Yeah.
I believe in change, and I believe that we can put an end to the corruption of money in politics and ensure that election reform becomes a reality where all voices are represented, all voices are heard, and we can reclaim our democracy. And I believe that we will win. Do y'all believe?
Yeah!
I believe that!
I believe that!
I believe that we!
I believe that we!
I believe that we will!
I believe that we will!
I believe that we will win!
I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win!
Woo! All right, let's give it up one more time for Brianna. All right, y'all, we got two more speakers. So first, we got student Anthony Torres, who's a fossil fuel divestment organizer at American University and focuses on how we can reinvest in creative community solutions to our democracy and the climate crisis. So I want to welcome Anthony to the stage.
Hi everyone, once again, I'm Anthony Torres and I'm representing Fossil Free American University. Let me hear from the fellow young divestment and climate organizers out here in the crowd. I am so privileged to stand here today for Democracy Spring and to share the stage with some incredible organizers from our Millennial Movements for Justice. This has been a powerful week, and first I want to take a moment to thank all of the amazing logistics and coordinators who've made this event possible and made this week incredible and heard across the country. Let's hear it for them. This has been a powerful week here in DC. We have hundreds of young people, hundreds of people across the country willing to risk arrest, to stand in the face of this Congress to demand an end to the corporate influence of our democracy. We have hundreds more of young people who are ready to stand here today and tomorrow, not just for our democracy, but for our climate.
Yeah! It's real.
And we are standing here today with incredible actions occurring across the country at the University of Mary Washington, at Columbia University, at JMU, at the University of Massachusetts, where students are sitting in and demanding an end to the fossil fuel investments that govern our higher education system. Young people are leading the fight against the corporate takeover of our democracy and climate injustice. Fossil fuel money and the climate culprits cannot be expected to solve the climate crisis. Those who are going to make the change and fight for justice in this country are the people who are standing here today. We need to divest from the corporate influence on our college campuses, in our communities, and in our Congress. And we need to reinvest in an alternative future. Together, our millennial movements for racial justice, for climate justice, for immigrant justice, for economic justice must stand together and decolonize our imaginations of what is possible in this country. So say it with me. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. Thank you, everybody. And let's continue standing here today, this week, and moving forward for a more just future for this country. Thank you.
All right, and now repeat after me. What do we want? DC statehood. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? DC statehood. When do we want it? Now. All right, y'all. So we're down to our last speaker, and so I want to welcome Rosario Dawson to the stage. So Rosario is an American actress, singer, and writer. She made her film debut in 1995 with the movie Kids, and has starred in many other films, including award-winning roles in Rent and Top 5. Let's give it up for Rosario Dawson, y'all.
I love the warning.
Hello.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
It is so beautiful to see you here. Woo. And to have been seeing you here for the past few days. I've been seeing you on the Young Turks. Yeah. I've been seeing you on Democracy Now. I haven't much been seeing you on the mass corporate media, of course. Shocking. And it's still happening, exactly. Yep. We don't need permission. But by being here and by perpetually being here and making history here, you're making yourselves known. And I just want to say thank you so much for bringing attention to this. We need to get the money out of politics. Yeah. We cannot be talking about party unity and all of these different things when people are getting blacklisted because they don't support the candidates that people want them to support. We can't be talking about real progressiveness in politics when people can't even run because they can't afford to. We are not being told about the options that we actually have because they're not able to be apparent to us. They're not on our corporate media, they're not on our mass media, and they don't have the money to make themselves visible to us. So how can we really say we have any choices? That we have any options? It ain't right. It isn't right. So thank you very much for taking a stand for our future. A future for us to believe in, that we can have real leaders who can step up to the table with courage, and we can encourage that, and that is exactly what you're doing, is encouraging leadership to step forward, despite the money, despite the media bias, just because it's the right thing to do. Because there's real work to be done, and we need leaders to be able to step up, and you're making it possible for them to do so. Yeah. In an environment that is completely discouraging. So thank you very much. This is a really big deal. Maybe we'll all get arrested today. Add some more numbers so that we can maybe get that corporate media attention to the fact that we're already breaking history. This is the largest demonstration, the most arrests ever on the Capitol, and that should be getting attention because we are doing this for a reason. So thank you very, very, very much. You know, my mom was an activist, my grandmother, you know, this has been going on for a long time. I've been an activist for a long time since I was a little kid. It's amazing to see young people here and that you are passing on that tradition. This is really important. We cannot just stick with the status quo. It is killing us. It is absolutely killing us, and it is killing people around the world. So thank you very much for taking a stand for that. Democracy Spring, everybody.
Let's give it up one more time for Rosario Dawson.
Good afternoon, friends and neighbors. My name is Josh Birch. I run a group called Neighbors United for DC Statehood.
If you look behind me, you see the U.S. Capitol. But what I see is an insult to American democracy.
Yeah.
If you look above the House chamber right now, there is an American flag that has 50 stars. It represents the 50 states in the Union, and what it doesn't represent is me. It doesn't represent my daughter. It doesn't represent my family, and it doesn't represent the 672,000 people of the District of Columbia that pay federal taxes, fight in wars, and are still denied a vote and equality in the U.S. Congress. It is time that the United States embraces equality for the District of Columbia, and the only way we will achieve that is by becoming the 51st state in the Union. So can I see a show of hands of people here who are from one of the 50 states? Oh my God, we are so jealous of you. But what we need is we need you to adopt this cause as your cause. If we rely on ourselves, we will never get there. We can protest, we can organize, we can get arrested, we can advocate, but until they act, we will not be treated equally. I have gone up to the hill. I've gone up to the Hill hundreds of times to meet with members of the House and Senate. And you know what they tell us? Well, I gotta see what my constituents think about DC statehood. So what do the constituents of members of Congress think about DC statehood? Do you want it? Yeah! And for us, I want to tell you this, and I said it when we started this march from Freedom Plaza. The statehood for the District of Columbia, it is a political pursuit, but it also is a very personal pursuit. It is about our families. It is about our country. It is about our democracy. We need you to join with us.
They got it, Josh, you got it.
We need you to join with us. And as a famous Washingtonian, Frederick Douglass, once said, power concedes nothing without a demand. The people of the District of Columbia are demanding statehood. We are demanding equality, and we need you to demand equality with us and for us. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for being here today. We can make democracy more just and equitable for all of us, but only if the people of D.C. are also included at that table. Thank you very much.
Demetrius.
When DC rights are under attack, what do we do? When student rights are under attack, what do we do? When all our rights are under attack, what do we do? What do we do? All right, y'all, that wraps it for the speakers. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be marching and moving forward with our action. And so there's also a very important announcement before we actually start the march and the action. There is a child that has not been seen named
Huey Weber Jones.
Huey Weber Jones. If Huey Weber Jones is here, please make sure that he can come to the front of the stage.
He's blonde hair and a blue shirt.
Blonde hair, blue shirt. He's over there. He's over there. All right, great. We're good. Let's give it up for Huey Weber Jones. All right. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be all following and going to that corner over there. There's people raising their hands if you turn around. If you see Maria and Sam and Ariel dancing in the corner over there, that's where we're going to be heading and starting our march. So if folks with the student banner and other folks want to come to the front there and then line up behind, and we're going to be starting our march over to the east side of the Capitol and taking action together. So, one more time as we're starting to march. Let's get this going. Money ain't speech, corporations are people. 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 Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, sit in, sit in. Democracy spring, sit in.
Corporations are people. Democracy brings the movement coming to you. Democracy brings the movement coming to you. Democracy springs, sit-in, sit-in. Democracy springs, sit-in, sit-in. Democracy springs, sit-in, sit-in. Money ain't speech, corporations are people. 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 We're gonna go down and around and up on the class. Corporations are people. You're supposed to walk, okay? Corporations are people. We the people, one person, one vote. We the people, one person, one vote. Free and equal from coast to coast. Free and equal from coast to coast. Money ain't speech, corporations are people. Money ain't speech, corporations are people. Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, the movement's coming to you. Democracy spring, the people's voice will be heard. Democracy spring, the people's voice will be heard. Democracy spring, sit-in, sit-in. Democracy spring, sit-in, sit-in. Democracy spring, sit-in, sit-in. Democracy spring, sit-in, sit-in. Sit-in, sit-in, sit-in. Sit-in, sit-in, sit-in. Sit-in, sit-in, one person, one vote. 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 What do we want? When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Democracy. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Democracy. When do we want it? Now. Voting rights. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want them? Now. Education justice. What do we want? Education justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Education justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Education justice. When do we want it? Now. One person, one vote. Money out, voters in. 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 United, overturn. Citizens 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 one vote, overturn. One person, one vote. One person, one vote.
Tyler. Tyler.
Yo, TYT!
We can't get back up for a few minutes.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy sounds like!
This is what democracy sounds like!
This is what democracy looks like! Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
there any shortcut from here? Is there any shortcut from here? If I'm not recording, it's not broadcasting, right? What? If I'm not recording, is it broadcasting? Like if I stop the recording, then it's not broadcasting, right?
No, it's always broadcasting.
Even if I stop it? What? Even if I stop it?
If you show off the camera, it's not.
Time, but you're doing some.
You have the camera on, so it's showing. Yeah.
People's house! Whose government? Our government! Whose government? Our government! Whose house? Our house! Whose Congress? Our Congress! Whose Congress? Our Congress! The people are on the move! 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 Say what? The people are on the move! The people are on the move! Say what?